This is my A-level graphic communication sketchbook tour. I actually can't remember how many years ago it was that I did this now, to be honest. But I still have all my sketchbooks, so if you like the A-level one, then let me know and I can do the GCSE ones too. I decided to do my whole sketchbook digitally. I did it on InDesign, which meant I had to print it out at the end. So basically I didn't have a physical sketchbook. I would just work on my laptop and then print things out at the end. So in this portfolio thing, I'd keep these big A3 wallets and they would have all of my extra things that I printed out, like the mock-ups and other things that I was working on, so that I could put some physical things into my sketchbook at the end. So for your A-level graphics communication coursework, you can choose any topic, and I did mine on music. Always got to start off with a mind map, and I think it's always best to break it down into sections, and that way it looks like your thoughts are a lot more structured and organized, and it's easier for an examiner to read. I've done the same thing for my mood board here and broken it down into sections of lyric videos, merchandise, concert staging, and CD albums. It's been so long since I've done this, I can't remember what this part is called now. I think it's the contextual resource. I think that's what it is. In your A-levels, we have 2 contextual resources. My first one being Steven Sagmeister. He's basically a typography artist. And I chose this because I'm doing music, and music has a big element of lyrics. Lyrics are words, words typography. So here I've just got 1 page of a mood board of his work. I've got a little, very short bio about him. It does not need to be long. Don't make any of your analysis long either. Just put the important parts in. You shouldn't be waffling. You don't want to write it. They don't want to read it either. Also, I don't know why I decided to handwrite all my titles in this, which is why they're all really wonky. I can't write straight. I'm left-handed and dyslexic. I don't know why I did that. So much of your A-level sketchbook is going to be development and experimentation. So I started off with experimenting with clay. I should have put in here some processes of me actually making the clay heart, but I didn't because my hands were covered in clay at the time. This is actually one of the only things I have still kept. It's been many years and it's been stuck in a cupboard, so it's really dusty and bits are broken off, but I do still have this clay heart. So for your experimentation and development pages, you want to put large pictures showing your process, showing the changes in each one, and then explain what changes you've made and why. You always want to put why. I continue to develop with typography, and then you can see this body painting section, which I literally did at 11 p.m. at night in the mirror in my pajamas. I don't know why I have a picture of me in my pajamas in my sketchbook, but this was inspired by that contextual resource, Steven Sagmeister, because he did a lot of carving into his own body, and I didn't think they'd appreciate that. So I did body painting, but that's what I've written in those paragraphs next to it about why I've done that, what I found from it, etc., etc. I continued to develop that into engraving on this laser cut ribbed cage thing that I did, and that came from the body painting because I painted on where my actual rib cage was, and basically those little bits of ideas that I did separately all came together to make that. Yeah, pretty much all of your sketchbook is going to be experimentation and then development. So this is experimenting with light, and that led me on to mixing the acetate photography with typography. You can see how they're all layered up on the second page and the way that looks from the front. And I promise I'm getting somewhere with this because that actually led me on to the font that I developed. After you've done a whole initial experimentation section, you then want to kind of refine your ideas. So it's good to do another planning board here. So this is where you can kind of bring together what you've been doing and how you're going to move forward to it, so that it breaks up your sketchbook a bit more. And I've just brought back images that I've previously had in my sketchbook already to show which ideas I want to bring forward. So in this section is where I bring in my second contextual research source. This is Claire Muller. She's a photographer. She does a lot of band and music and concert photography, which is why I chose her, because my topic is music. Examiners love primary photos. You have to have primary photos. So primary photos are photos that you have yourself taken. So these I've done in the style of Claire Miller, because that brings my own research into it, plus my contextual resource into it. And then I've just picked out 3 of those photos on the next page and talked a bit about how I developed those in different styles. I've got a page showing this in a bit, but I've actually kept all of my experimentation that I did with the photography on acetate, because again, that brings those 2 ideas together. That brings my contextual resource of Claire Miller's photography and the acetate work that I was previously doing. And I printed a bunch of photography on acetate, and I do love how these turned out. They were just really cool and really fun to work with. So I kept those in my sketchbook as well, so that people could see the real things instead of just the photos, which I've got on a page coming up. So here comes a moment where you're taking your previous ideas and putting them together to actually move forward into a real thing. So I'm merging that photography with the typography. And you can see in my sketchbook, I've got written down there test 2. So previously I've got test 1, test 2, test 3, and you just keep going and testing different ideas, but making sure each step you're explaining why you've done that idea and then what you've gained from that. So how you're going to move forward with whatever knowledge you've gained from that. Because then it shows your actual thought process and that you are developing and improving upon your ideas. I've got another planning board here, and this is basically just to confirm and clarify what you've been doing. So talk about what you've done, what bits you like, what you're going to take forward and what you're not. Because you don't want to take forward every single different experimentation you've just tried. You're doing all of those so that you can see which one works best. So here's where I started my final products research. So I did some music research and split that up again into genre and identity. So I've kind of created a bit of a brief for myself. Obviously, I started off with some branding, just so that would help me develop all of my future products. If you are doing this digitally like I did, then take screenshots of your process as you're going. It's so much easier to do this as you're going. I literally had a sticky note up on my laptop while I was doing this that reminded me, take process screenshots, otherwise I would forget, and it's so hard to backtrack. So here's where I start talking about my product ideas, and I've just split these up. They get half of a page each for each initial idea. So I've got concert tickets, vinyl albums, patch, stage design, things like that. And in each of these sections, I've broken that up again with some references. So it's like a mini mood board, material ideas, style ideas. Just so this is more broken up and easier for someone to follow. Because you've got to remember, it's someone who isn't you who's looking at all of this, so it all needs to make sense to them. So here I start developing the concert ticket idea, and again I've got that mood board split up into layout and style inspiration. So I've got a final design here, and then ticket mock-up, which is a physical ticket that I had to put into those pages so that someone could actually take them out. On the back of it I've done heat embossing. So here I start developing my next product of that tour poster. So I use the same photos that I previously edited, which is why I did those at the beginning. So my next product that I moved on to is CD albums, and these are all actually scans that I've done of CDs that I have. You can judge my taste in music, that's okay. So as I've said, creating a brief for myself really helped. So what I've done is basically drawn a net of each of the products that I will need to make in order to have a full CD. Because I'm actually doing a vinyl album crossed with the traditional lyric booklet that you would get in a modern CD album. So I also need to make the lyric booklet. So I don't remember if we had to make this or if I just thought it was an easy way to put my final pieces together. But this is a separate piece of card, and I basically just printed out all of these nice final photos that I took when I like styled them and staged all of my pieces together so that you could see everything that I'd made in one place. I've got this little QR code at the top, and that takes you to, I think it was like a GIF that I made of the lyric booklet coming out from the rest of the album. I've got each of the pictures at the bottom of that as well, of it unfolding. Anyway, that got me an A star, and I chose the topic music, made final pieces of concert poster, branding, vinyl, tickets, lyric booklet, and put that all together in this final styled board. Let me know if you liked this and if it was helpful, because I've got, I think, about 3 sketchbooks full of all of my GCSE work as well. Let me know if you like this video, and if you have any questions on doing graphic communication at GCSE, A-level, or in life, because that's what I went on to do after school as well.